On Monday, May 5th, in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court of the U.S. reversed a decision by the Court of Appeals that held that the practice of praying before legislative assemblies violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. As a reminder, this clause reads, "Congress shall make no laws respecting the establishment of religion." I'm thankful that 5 members of the Supreme Court did not stop their reading of the First Amendment at the Establishment Clause, for the First Amendment goes on to say, or prohibiting the free expression thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. 4 of the members of the Supreme Court sought to prohibit invocations before legislative assemblies. Thankfully, 5 of the members appear to have read the entire First Amendment. The opinion of the 5 carried the day by the narrowest of margins, by 1 vote. If that 1 vote would have flipped the other way, we would now be forbid from invoking God's guidance at the commencement of our legislative assemblies. I would like to remind my colleagues of the origins of the tradition of invoking God's guidance at the beginning of each day of our legislative deliberations. In 1787, the Constitutional Convention was on the verge of breaking apart completely over the issue of representation, a stalemate created by the concern of smaller states that they would be overpowered by the larger states, and the concern of the larger states that smaller states would be given representation out of proportion to their relative size. Tempers were short, and the ship of state seemed headed for the rocks before its maiden voyage had barely begun. It was against this backdrop that the elder statesman of the convention, Benjamin Franklin, rose and uttered these immortal words. In this situation of this assembly, groping as it were in the dark to find political truth, and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, how has it happened, sir, that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understanding? In the beginning of the contest with Great Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayer in this room for divine protection. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. All of us who were engaged in the struggle must have observed frequent instances of a superintending providence in our favor. To that kind providence, we owe this happy opportunity of consulting in peace on the means of establishing our future national felicity. Have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Or do we imagine we no longer need his assistance? I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of man. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. I therefore beg leave to move that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and his blessing on our deliberations be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business. My friends, we were just 1 vote of an unelected Supreme Court justice away from prohibiting this sage advice. 1 vote. 1 vote away from denying us the guidance of the one who created us all equal. 1 vote away from denying us the guidance of one who endowed us with the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 1 vote away from denying us guidance that we should not bear false witness against our neighbors or covet our neighbors' goods. 1 vote. My friends, may we never neglect to humble ourselves and beseech the guidance of the author of the laws of nature as we deliberate in our feeble attempts to define laws for our citizens.